Hello, Will Snyder here with WeediaBuzz. It's been widely publicized that recreational marijuana legalization initiatives will likely be on the ballot here in Arizona in 2016. The primary force behind drafting and introducing the initiative initially has been MPP, or the Marijuana Policy Project. They're a marijuana advocacy group in Washington, D.C., whose stated primary focus is to remove criminal penalties for marijuana use. MPP had been working with key Arizona groups with similar beliefs to draft language and submit an initiative. When the initiative was finally drafted and submitted to the Secretary of State, much of the key language most important to the group representing the people of Arizona was left out, according to Jason Medar of Arizonans for Mindful Legalization, a newly formed group made up of key individuals who were formerly working alongside MPP and who are now drafting and submitting its own initiative. As has been reported, there are now two main initiatives being introduced. One from Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, sponsored by the MPP, or the Marijuana Policy Project, and the other is from Arizonans for Mindful Legalization. Jason Medar, the campaign manager for Arizonans for Mindful Legalization, was kind enough to take some time out of his very busy schedule to sit down with us to help shed some light and hopefully bring some clarity to what's going on with these two initiatives. Jason, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
What is your background and how did you get involved in this movement?
Well, I got involved in the marijuana industry back in 2005. I originally got involved because my dad, he was using medical marijuana. He had cirrhosis of the liver from being a big drinker all of his life and got Lou Gehrig's disease. And so he was in constant pain but couldn't take any pain pills. And so I, of course, helped him to grow medical marijuana. I learned how to make hash. And that's kind of where I started. I didn't look back from then. In 2006, 2007, I formed a local cannabis advocacy group here in Arizona called Tree Smoker Cannabis Co-op. And we just did general advocacy for marijuana legalization. I had worked with MPP in 2008 to try and get a medical marijuana initiative on the ballot for that year, but we didn't have enough time to collect signatures prior to the deadline. So rather, they opted to go for the 2010 campaign, which I helped collect signatures for, and of course offered to add language to their initiative that we felt was beneficial. Beyond that, I opened my own dispensary in 2009 in Orange County, California, in the city of Yorba Linda specifically. It was a small city, but we were the only dispensary in the city, and so we faced some problems from the city ultimately and had to close. In 2010, I moved back here to pursue potentially opening a dispensary in Arizona. Unfortunately, what we found was that the Department of Health Services regulations were just a little bit unfair, you know, for anybody that wanted to enter the market. Ultimately, a lot of those regulations were found to be unlawful in a court. But beyond that, we opened or founded an association called the Arizona Association of Dispensaries, which, just as it sounds, was an organization meant to encompass all of the dispensaries. To that effect, we ended up holding monthly meetings through 2013 before the group disbanded for numerous reasons. In 2014, we reached out to MPP, and of course, through this year, we've also been working with MPP to help them draft a marijuana legalization initiative for 2016 in Arizona that would protect consumers in addition to allowing for a retail market.
And MPP, the Marijuana Policy Project, was involved in marijuana legalization in Colorado and Washington and other states as well. Is that correct?
The Marijuana Policy Project is a national organization out of Washington, D.C. They had a hand in numerous medical marijuana legalization initiatives, and specifically Colorado's and Washington's as well. And so their background is, of course, in changing marijuana laws nationally in numerous states, Arizona being one of those states.
How are the initiatives they've helped to pass going in other states? Do you know?
It varies from state to state. There's no one general answer. Washington is having quite a few problems, and that was one of the initiatives that they were behind. Other states like Colorado are doing all right. There's problems. We've learned from some of those problems. And to that effect, of course, we feel that we were able to prepare an initiative that will better protect consumers as compared to Colorado's or Washington's initiative.
What is the Arizonans for Mindful Legalization's motivation behind introducing a separate initiative from the one the MPP did?
Our initiative really, it differentiates from MPP's in that ours focuses on specifically protecting the consumer. Language that specifically reduces criminal penalties for what is beyond what is made legal. So if somebody possesses more than what is legal, they would face a misdemeanor rather than a felony. We, of course, feel that that's appropriate. Certainly in a conversation about legalizing marijuana, we don't feel that any voter would say that you should legalize 1 ounce but throw somebody in prison for possessing 3.
You and your group were at one time working arm in arm with MPP. Is that correct?
We worked with MPP to try and include a lot of our language. We had a lot of support from the community, from numerous cannabis activist groups. We'd actually formed a group to encompass all of those groups called the Consumer Cannabis Coalition. And as that group, we met with MPP and submit language that we wanted included in the initiative. We had numerous conversations with the MPP, both through their attorney and their campaign manager, and even the director himself, Rob Campia. Sadly, the language that they chose to file did not include the consumer protections that we needed. And frankly, we felt that the language that MPP did include would be do more harm than good.
So did MPP move away from originally agreed upon language of the initiative then?
Right. They originally had said that they would include our language, but for unnamed reasons, they chose not to. We've asked numerous times for them to give us an official reason, but they've yet to do so.
So the ARML, your group, felt the MPP initiative wasn't good for the people, even people outside the marijuana community. Is that right?
You're right, the people, and not just the marijuana consumers, because this affects everybody. I mean, I've got a 4-year-old son, and if dad's in jail for marijuana, he's not better off, right? And frankly, with the discussion regarding children, ask any high schooler, where they're getting their marijuana. It's not from a legal dispensary. Those places ask for ID. They're getting their marijuana from drug dealers. And our initiative, because it reduces those criminal penalties, it will have the added effect of reducing the overall price of marijuana. When the value of marijuana on the street drops, the drug dealer has less incentive to continue to sell marijuana.
So what makes the legalization initiative the Arizonans for Mindful Legalization introduced different from the initiative the MPP, or Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol initiative, the one they introduced? So
the first point is that our initiative, again, reduces the criminal penalties for any marijuana offense beyond what is made legal. So again, if somebody possesses more than 1 ounce of marijuana, which is what would be legal in our initiative, they would be charged with either a petty offense or a misdemeanor, so long as they possess less than 8 ounces. With regard to cultivation, a person would be allowed to cultivate 12 plants as compared to MPP's initiative, which allows 6 plants. In our initiative, if a person illegally grows a 13th plant and violates the law, they would be charged with a Class 3 misdemeanor rather than a Class 4 felony. In MPP's initiative, if somebody grew a 7th plant unlawfully, they would be charged with a Class 4 felony, which includes a mandatory prison sentence. We didn't feel that was appropriate. So the first point that differentiates us is the de-felonization of marijuana offenses. Secondly, our initiative does not allow the newly formed Department of Marijuana Licenses and Control to take control of and amend the medical marijuana program. MPP's initiative specifically says that that new department would be allowed to manage and control the medical marijuana program. We felt that's inappropriate. We feel that the medical marijuana program should remain unchanged, patients should still be protected, and that program should be regulated by a health agency. So specifically, our initiative does not allow the transfer of authority for that program. The third most significant point, and again, there's a lot of significant points, but the third most significant is that we changed the amount of marijuana establishment licenses that would be available. In our initiative, we would allow for 1,600 marijuana retailer licenses and an unlimited amount of marijuana cultivator licenses and marijuana product manufacturer licenses. That also applies unlimited marijuana testing facility licenses as well. In MPP's initiative, they essentially say that only the existing medical marijuana dispensaries will be guaranteed licenses of any type. And so our initiative really opens up the market and allows for new business growth. And so I would say that would be the third most significant point. Again, that doesn't actually apply to consumers so much, except in the sense that the consumer would have better access to a better quality product.
What would you say to the folks following this legislation who feel that having two competing initiatives on the ballot will ultimately cancel each other out and essentially no one wins?
We certainly hope not. I mean, obviously, we're putting in a lot of work, time, effort, and even money, to get this to pass. So we certainly hope that won't happen. Again, we did try and work with MPP. It was always our preference to work with MPP rather than work against MPP. But again, it was the Marijuana Policy Project's decision not to include the language that would actually protect consumers. This isn't a bicker over, a few different words here. This is this serious language that actually keeps people out of jail and prison for marijuana offenses. We certainly hope that there won't be a split. Personally, about 7 to 8 out of 10 people that I'm speaking to in the marijuana industry are saying that they support our initiative and that they're already very weary of MPP's initiative. We think part of that has to do with the fact that the medical marijuana program that MPP wrote and also had passed was very, very much unsuccessful, and a lot of it didn't make sense. Specifically allowing a patient to grow 12 plants but only possess 2.5 ounces. There was many other problems, but that's obviously the most obvious one. So we certainly hope that there won't be a split. We think that we have the majority vote. We think we've got the majority of the support. Our language really, it makes sense. It actually protects the consumers. It allows for new business growth. Truthfully, anybody who likes MPP's initiative will love our initiative.
Jason, thank you again for taking time with us today. How can folks get a hold of you?
I appreciate you taking the time. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at my website, azfmr.com.
One of our missions here at WeediaBuzz.com is to report the facts about the 2016 legislation and present it in a clear, unbiased, and unfiltered way. We've also reached out to the MPP folks to share their position with our readers and with our viewers, and we hope they'll sit down with us soon. We'll let you know. We look forward to sharing that interview with you as well. We have a page on our site dedicated to the 2016 legislation and encourage anyone who wants to know more about it or who wants to get involved to go to WeediaBuzz.com. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.